Hark! It appears I'm too stupid at math. I need mathemication. Oh, what's this that appeared from the skies and the heavens? Why, it's math dice. Math dice. Look at that 6-count wooden math dice, 3 up. If you get these in pre-kindergarten, then so help you, because you are not allowed to. These are for kindergartners only. Can't see it because the screen is blurry, but yep, there you go. Kindergartners only. Kindergartners and up. Kindergartners and up. I'm part of the and up. 1, 2, 3. Yes, you can count. Oh, excuse me, I can't count yet. I haven't learned. Math dice. Save me. What kind of amazing skills will I be able to learn thanks to the magic of these wooden dice? The wooden math dice will help me with critical thinking, independent learning, counting and math. Oh, wow. Why would it give me counting and math skills? Now, fine motor skills. Yes. I am a master who only has the most refined of motor skills. Excuse me. I don't need any more fine motor skills, but then again, maybe I do. Oh, maybe my definition of fine is not as much. And then again, if I already have fine motor skills, and this increases my fine motor skills, then I'll have the most motory skills of all. Math dice. What is the purpose of math dice? Really? Dice are already math. You roll them for random stuff. What exactly are you supposed to do? They didn't come with instructions. There weren't any instructions when I got this. You don't pull it out of the I only just opened the bag, so there weren't any instructions inside. This is brand new. We got this in a bag of various things that my sister had gotten. Somebody had donated them to us because they didn't need them anymore, and there was math dice in them, and I confiscated them. My sister let me have the math dice. Horizon Group USA. Wow. My speeches are goodly. Horizon Group from Cranberry, South River Road, Suite 200, South Brunswick, New Jersey. Origin, China. Not made in China. Origin, China. And it's as big as the other lettering on here. Email our customer service at this number. Please don't actually email them or harass them or anything. Please don't do that. But 6-count wooden math dice. My gosh, I need the independent learning, critical thinking at the age of 3. Man, imagine all the stuff I can learn from the math dice. Get it out of there. Get it open. Math dice. Look at this. You roll the random math dice, and what's the purpose? It's just dice with numbers on them, and they're selling this as an educational toy. So how do each of these have the exact same thing? Is it that you have to figure out which dice will end up equaling a thing? Do you roll 2 dice, and you get 2 numbers, and you're like, what does this equal? But what happens if you roll an 8 and another 8? How do you get the number? Because there isn't a dice that says 16. There isn't a 16 on one of these. Do you take the other 2 and you place them as the individual digits? Because that might work, but there's 6 sides. So how are they supposed to have all of the digits to them? This isn't like D&D where you have the 2... You have the percentage dice, so you have the D10, and then the 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50... The other D10 that has the percentage stuff on there, out of 100. How is this supposed to even work? What is the logic behind it? I feel like they just wanted to put numbers on the dice, and they're just like, math dice. Yeah, this is educational. We can sell these colored wooden blocks as something that could help teach kids something. Look at all the stuff that they really had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to get. I mean, imagine all of the fine motor skills I'll get from just manhandling these wooden dice. Oh, it's gonna teach your kid brain surgery. That's just how precise you're gonna learn from these incredible educational math dice. Math dice. Math dice. Math dice. Now to crawl into the bag, and I'll become the math dice. The white blood cell in action, using phagocytosis to absorb the enemy germ. Alas, it hasn't figured out how to do it yet, so it's just kind of gumming the sides. And so the germ wins and kills us all. I was disappointed. Math dice! Part of me is tempted to keep this intact and give it to somebody who might be able to use the fine motor skills, who can learn the great skills. Look at this. Look at what the side is. 2 plus 8 equals 10. Okay, look at that. So that's what you're supposed to do. So the fact that they're dice doesn't really factor in, because that feels like they'd be random, but they're six-sided blocks with numbers on them. So I guess they're dice, but it's not like it's a giant dice with numbers 1 to 6. There's just an 8 on there. What made them decide to jump to 8? So is it like 0, 4, 2, 3, 5? Some of them are. I guess you're just supposed to... You not only have to figure out which dice have the number that you need, but then you have to place them to make the actual number. And then there's one die that's just equal on all sides. It's basically like a rigged dice. It's like, hey, I'm going to roll this dice. I'm going to get an equal sign. What's the probability? 1, because it's 6 out of 6. And this one is just randomly plus or minus. I don't really understand why it should be randomized, besides these are just being blocks. They should just be called math blocks, and it teaches addition and subtraction, because that's the only thing that's on here. It doesn't teach multiplication unless you turn this on its at an angle. So if you can get the math dice to stand up on its edge, then you can multiply. Otherwise, you can't. But they really wanted to make this seem like it was a highly educational toy. Math dice. Because when I first saw this, I was like, so you just roll it at random, and then you have to figure out an equation? But how? So you only have one, you can only work by adding in one number and another number, and then you have these other two. But I guess if you roll a dice and maybe the number isn't listed on there, like what happens if you roll an 8? And like what happens if you roll and there isn't the available numbers? Then you have to use a different dice? Maybe? What if you end up... Was this specifically designed so that you will never end up getting a number that you won't be able to make with the provided dice? I don't really get it. How are they supposed to add up and work? 1, 6, 8, 3, 8. What happens if you roll and there's a 1 and a 1 here, so that would be 11. So you roll an 8 and you roll 5. So that's 13. So there's the 3 and there's the 1. Okay, so that would be 1, 3 for 13. All right. So I guess maybe they have designed this so that the specific numbers that are on here, because there's like, there might not be a 7, there's no way that you'd be able to add up the two numbers that wouldn't be able to be represented on the other two dice. It could have been mathematically figured out like that. So here's a 5 and a 5. What happens if you have the 8 and the 8? That would be 16. You have these blocks. Unless there's a 6 on the other side. If there's like a 5 on the other side of that, then there's no other way you could do it if you use this for the 1. So you better hope that it'd be the right number that you need. I don't know. I guess it's probably too smart for me, these numbered dice. It just kind of feels like they're really stretching, or it's just like just have a pile of blocks. Just advertise it as blocks. Don't advertise it as just math dice. Because there's what's the point of it being dice? They're blocks. They're math blocks. Because otherwise it's random. If you just roll them at random, you're like, what do I try and figure out what the thing is supposed to equal? What happens if I subtract 8? What if I subtract 3 minus 8? I don't see a negative block to equal negative something or other. Negative 5? There's negative 5 on these. You gave us a subtraction option. You have to, if you're going to do that, you have to be ready to have the kids subtract and get into the negatives. Otherwise, just have it be the addition block. You have that with the equal sign block. There's no other way that this won't be an equal sign. It's not like each of these, it's not like they gave a different block that was one number on each of them, and then you place them around. No, you have to figure out which one of them is the number on here. So yeah, I guess that's the fine motor skills, but it just feels like it would be a lot more confusing than it is helpful. If you're really, because once you figure out the point of trying to figure everything else out, you've already kind of understood math at that point. That this stuff isn't really as helpful. But then again, what do I know? I'm not a wooden math dice scientist. What is this number 8? What is this kind of lopsided shrinking number 8? It's just deflated on the top. It's just kind of squished to the side. What is this? That's not a number 8. That's a number 4. That's number 6. It's number 3. That's just a smushed number 8. Even the zero's looking kind of like a little lax. But yeah, that's fine. Look at this. 305 is equal to positive 5. Look at that. I'm learning. What about this? 6,843 plus an equal sign is equal to 6,843 with an equal sign next to it. That's how it works. I did it. It equals negative 8. Look at that. So this could be the negative, but then since there's only one dice for the addition and subtraction, what's the point? You just kind of rotate these around until you find a dice where things work, I guess. So you'd better not use one of the dice that you need for the solution as one of the question ones, because otherwise you'll have to switch it around. So a lot of critical thinking will happen. As a kid, you're like, I just want to add the numbers. It's hard enough to figure out the numbers to add, let alone actually placing everything down. I don't know, this just feels kind of superfluous, because really it just feels like the main point of this was not to make an educational toy. They really just wanted to upsell it and charge you a very high price for something. This is the kind of thing where you'd go to like some museum, and in the gift shop this would be like $15, and it's just like, oh, well, it was specially made to teach your kids as an educational present for them to enjoy, and you give it to them, and it's not quite educational enough to actually be useful, but it's also not quite cool enough for you to be able to use it for other things. Because I was thinking, well, you know what, wouldn't it be funny if I used this for like D&D, because you use basic dice and numbers on there. So you roll the different things, you see what they'd equal, and then whether you're adding or subtracting stuff, that could be pretty cool. Really, the best and coolest thing on here that has the best utility is this: do I randomly add or do I randomly subtract from the dice? And I mean, they're pretty big. These are pretty big even for my hands. I guess you'd have to shake them up in the bag and then pull them out. Because otherwise, like, the reason why dice are smaller, because they fit in your hand easier to roll and to shake up and then roll. These are huge. These are a little bit more cumbersome. Here, I'm gonna randomly roll. What is it gonna be? I'm gonna roll the chunk. All 6 of them together. I got a that. Whoa! I did it. I just like this as a singular lump way more than I like it as individual dice. You can chuck it, you can roll it to figure out which side you want. Oh, look, I got it on the edge. 2 upside down, 1 0. I'm learning as well. That's right. You also have to rotate these around. I don't know. I just feel like having the blocks with an individual thing on each of them, so you figure out the numbers, like 1 to 10, and then if you need the other numbers, you give 2 of each of these. You make them a lot smaller, and then you have them in the bag, so you have a pile of dice with numbers on them. That feels like it's a little bit more cool. Or you make these smaller. Really, just having more of these would be a lot more cool. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. It rubs me the wrong way. Don't get this for your kids. Figure out some other more educational toy. That's also probably more fun. I don't know. Get them actual D&D dice if they're old enough. I mean, that's probably the reason why they're bigger, so this way the kids don't choke on them. I had dice when I was a kid. I didn't choke on them. I just loved the dice. I like dice. It's like, oh, it's a 6-sided cube. 1, 0, 1, 2, 5, 3, 8, 6. Those are the right numbers. I feel like at the age where this would be useful, it's already confusing enough to figure out why the heck that these numbers are on here. It feels like it's both too much work for the level that of kid who would end up enjoying this. Because by the time they're smart enough to figure out why they'd be doing it, they just wonder why they would do it in the first place. And there are so many other cooler things. You know, there's little counting cubes that you stick together to count and make number cubes, and you can put them together in cool little ways. They have the little nubby on the side, and the other 5 sides are a little thing that you'd plug one in, and you can make them into whatever shape you want with different colors. That is way more fun, and you can use that for counting and educational purposes. This feels more like a chore. These are the inferior educational math toy. Don't get these for your kids. Math dice! Teach your kids math by using gambling. But don't actually gamble, and don't actually teach them math. Just buy our product. Slip this into the bag. The white blood cell figures out how to use its phagocytosis. Nom, 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 nom. Eats the germ. It can't close its mouth very well, but it's trying. It's doing its best. The reason why I know it's called phagocytosis is because I'm watching Cells at Work with my girlfriend. I didn't know that's what it was called when white blood cells eat the germs. I'm closing this with one hand thanks to my fine motor skills that I've developed from handling these dice. The math dice! Math dice! They're the math dice! They're the dice of math! Look at the math dice! Math dice! Math dice! Math dice! Dice of math! They are making me go insane. Here, let me take off the Handington eyes. I don't want them to be hurt. Math dice! Math dice! Math dice! 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 Have you been educated yet? Have they taught you? Have you learned about the incredible power that's within this pouch? Respect the pouch. That was the slogan of Capri Sun. It's now the slogan of Math Dice. Gah! It's just really fun to throw. You brought out a weird, dark side of me that I didn't think I had, Math Dice. And for that, you must pay. Math Dice. Oh, somebody's walking their dog outside. They looked at me. They could hear me screaming Math Dice from outside. I'm usually quiet. Math dice. They'll corrupt your spirit and turn you into some sort of creature you'll never understand. Math dice. Chuck 'em around the room. Chuck 'em at a broom. Chuck 'em around. Chuck 'em at a clown. Chuck 'em at the giant pink horse. I'm not gonna hurt you. You're a majestic animal. Chuck 'em at a baby, teach him to learn. Here you go, baby. You better learn. Fine motor skills to the baby. You're learning with the math dice. Math dice. Math dice. Baby, have you figured out your critical thinking? Independent learning? Gonna shove these into your brain? Oh no, I think I killed it. End the video.